Hey everybody, Leaf here. Today I've got a short video for you about light bulbs. No, I'm not going to talk about what they do. I'm pretty much 100% sure that everybody knows exactly what a light bulb does. So I'm going to more focus on the cost of one of these things and why there's a huge push to go with these energy saving ones and exactly what the dollars and cents break down to on whether they're worth it or not. So let's see what we've got. Now, to talk about light bulbs and the different types and whether they actually save money or not, first things first, we've got to find out what different light bulbs are. So, got a little bit of a problem? Let's fix that. Well, that's looking better. Now we've got something to talk about. Okay, so our very first light bulb, the one that everybody knows when they think of a light bulb, the basic incandescent light bulb. Now the way these things work is you have your glass ball and it's filled with an inert gas. Now what's this gas is something that's really not reactive, so you don't have oxygen in it for one, because when something gets hot, it oxidizes, it burns, and that's just no good for a light bulb. If it's burning, the filament inside the light bulb won't last. That's why you have the term burnt out, because it has literally burnt itself into multiple pieces and you don't have a constant connection. Now, the filament inside one of these is much more easier to see on these clear bulbs. You have a wire on the inside, and you look at it and it's like, oh, it starts off kind of skinny and then gets a little wider. Well, it doesn't get wider. What happens is the wire is actually coiled. And by coiling the wire, you get more wire in there, more surface area, so when it heats up to a glow, it produces more light. That's the basic premise of an incandescent light bulb. Now, rumor has it, I can't substantiate it because I wasn't around, but rumor has it is that it took Edison 10,000 tries to perfect this one light bulb. Again, I can't verify it, I wasn't around then. I'll take their word for it. All I know is it was a very good idea. I love it. If it wasn't for the light bulb, I'd be sitting in the dark. So, those are your basic light bulbs. Those are the ones we started with. Now, you move on, you have the next ones that came out were, I can't remember if it was halogen or sodium vapor, but the sodium vapor, the high intensity light bulbs are the ones you see in floodlights, or a lot of street lights, the old gymnasium lights, the great big oblong looking ones. Those ones burn really, really bright, but they also use a fair bit of energy. The halogen, they burn bright as well, but don't use quite as much energy. Everything is set based on watts. So whatever the wattage of the light bulb is, that's how much power it draws. Turn the clocks back 15 years ago, 10-15 years ago, things start to get a little strange. Well, the wattage you see on the light bulb is not exactly what you're actually getting now and what you're using. Enter the compact fluorescent, or the slightly more compact fluorescent. The way these ones work is instead of taking electricity, firing it through the coiled wire, and making the wire basically just shy of burn, it takes the electricity, puts a current through this coiled tube, and it excites the particles inside the gas, as well as interacting with the powder coating on the inside of the tube, and just a dab of mercury as well, to make the tube glow. Now, if you look at the great big fluorescent lights that you see in the long tubes, there's a box inside those called a ballast, and what that does is it takes the regular electricity that comes to the socket, which is about 110 volts, give or take, and kicks that up to like 10,000 volts, if memory serves me. Now, this doesn't have that great big box, but it has a unit that does the exact same thing inside here. So, it takes the voltage coming in, pumps it way up to make sure that there's enough voltage going through to make the tubes glow. So that was the next great invention. More recently than that, you have the LED. Now the way the LED works is instead of having a tube that's filled with gas that you make the gas and everything glow, or you have a filament that you've got to make glowing, this one just has a couple little diodes. Now it's a diode. Generally it's a switch. Electricity terms, it just prevents electricity from flowing one direction. So if you have alternating current, which goes back and forth or up and down depending on your sine wave, this only goes one way. But a light emitting diode, or an LED, does the exact same thing, but as the name implies, it creates light. Some of these can get pretty bright. That's what these do. Similar to the compact fluorescent CFLs, there's a unit inside, but instead of the ballast to create the high voltage, this is basically just a simple circuit board. That's all that's in one of these. So what's the real difference? Let's check out some numbers. Now, for the most part, we'll break down everything using a 60 watt bulb. A 60 watt light bulb draws 60 watts of power. If it's a halogen or high intensity light bulb, it'll still draw 60 watts because it's a standard bulb. Now, if you get into the compact fluorescent, or a 60 watt equivalent light bulb, this one will only draw about 13 watts of power, and you get to the LED, instead of 13 watts or 60 watts, this little guy draws a whopping 8. So you've got quite a decrease in power consumption. Now, let's get into the dollars and cents of how this actually, or what kind of difference these actually make. Now, for electricity, hydro, that's what we call it in this neck of woods. Yeah, it's incorrect, but that's just the common term we use for it. Everything's measured in kilowatts, so a 60 watt light bulb is 0.06 kilowatts. So there you have your standard incandescent halogen high intensity. Then you go into the fluorescent, and instead of 0.06, you're looking at 0.013, and the LED, you're looking at 0.008. Now, if you, just to come up with some arbitrary numbers, in the summer, you know you're going to use the lights generally less because you got more daylight. The winter, you use them more. Let's average 6 hours a day, every day of the year. So you're going to use, on your incandescent light bulb, 0.36 kilowatts per day. And then compact fluorescent, you're going to be looking at 0.078. LED, you're looking at 0.048. Up in here, specifically where I am, our cost per kilowatt hour that we're being charged, not including delivery fees, debt recovery, and all the other add-ons that they put on, just because they need that extra money coming in that they can't work into the cost itself, we're looking at $0.132 per kilowatt hour. So, cost per day based on 6 hours, you have 4.8 cents a day. Then you go to 1 cent a day. And then the LED, you're looking at 0.006 cents. Sorry, $0.006 per day. Now, you expand that to the week, you've got $0.333 per week. You got $0.072 per week and $0.044 per week. Now, quite a difference between the regular ones and these new ones. And it becomes really apparent when you expand it to the year. 365 days, 6 hours or 6 hours a day use, whole year, you're looking at $17.34 per year to run one of these light bulbs. Now, you move on to the compact fluorescent, you're looking at from $17 to $3.76. So quite the drop. And then you get to the LED and you go from $3.76 to $2.31. Yeah, quite a savings. Now, initially you look at it, it's like, oh, well, it's not really that big a deal, but or between the LED and the compact fluorescent, but holy cow, is that ever a difference over these ones? You're right, it is a huge difference. There's a huge cost savings going over the other ones based on the numbers. Now, there's a few little hiccups when it comes to the usage of light bulbs. The first one is there's actually restrictions on these guys on where you can use them. You can't use them in contained light fixtures because they need airflow, which, to be honest, so do these ones. So with that, they're all on the same page. Outside use, that you've got a huge thing that you got to consider, because these guys are not rated to be used below 20 degrees Celsius. So in cooler climates like I'm in, that could be a problem, because just the last couple of days we were hitting -30, -42 with the wind chill. So we're well outside the operating ranges of these light bulbs. Now, that's not to say that they won't work, but it will drastically shorten the lifespan of them. So in those situations for exterior lights, you probably still want to go with the regular incandescent, high intensity, or the halogen. Next one is the cost. You go to buy these. You have your regular incandescent light bulbs. They're pretty cheap. You're looking a couple bucks, like say $2 for a 2-pack of light bulbs. It's really not that much. Get to the compact fluorescents, you get a little more, but even they're still fairly cheap. Where you really get into the issues with the cost is when you start getting into these LEDs, where they could be upwards of $25 for one bulb. And I'm not talking about the ones that connect wirelessly and you can control with your phone. This is just a basic light bulb. You turn the switch, light comes on. You turn the switch, it turns off. $25 for a bulb. A little ridiculous? Might be. And that's where crunching the numbers came in. Because you only have roughly $1.45 cost savings from this light to this light. And that's over the course of a year. Are these lights $1.45 different in value? If you look at the price tag when you go to buy them, I can say that's a definite no. These ones cost quite a bit less than these ones. Do they last longer? I'm not sure. I haven't been using LED lights long enough to find out one way or the other. But what I do know is the lifespan of these fluorescents is all over the map. They say they're rated for about 10,000 hours, I think. I've had lights that I've put into the house that we're currently in that I did the very first day almost that we moved in that I've had no trouble with, and they've been on the most out of all of them. And then I have other lights which I've put in and roughly the same time and replaced 3, 4, 5 times since. So I don't know if it's the fixture or just the lights themselves, because the lights do have different price points. I'm assuming there's a better quality. You spend the more money, you expect to get a better value. So depending on various circumstances, which I don't have control over and haven't actually tested, I can't say. But if you want to save money, these are definitely not the way to do it if you have a lot of lights in your house, apartment, whichever. If you want to save money and you don't want to break the bank in the process, my recommendation is going with the compact fluorescents. If you have a situation where you need a certain color of light, then I would say go and spend the money, because really the only ones that you can say for clinical purposes have a certain color of light, specifically if you're doing photography, are the LEDs, because they're the ones that actually give you a temperature number on the light. This one, for example, was rated at 2700 Kelvin. So this is going to be a fairly bluish light. If you want something a little warmer, more natural sun looking, you want closer to 5200 Kelvin, because that's closer to what actual daylight is. So again, it depends on your situation. If you want something where you have strict control over the color of the light, you want the LED. If you want to just save money, my vote's with the compact fluorescent. And if you have huge temperature swings where you go from really hot to really cold, and it's outside the warranty or the recommended use of these ones, you're going to have to bite the bullet and go with the old ones. Now, if that's a really big issue, you can try going with these ones, but on the other hand, it's just as easy. If you don't have anyone, if you have them outside, you don't have anyone coming over, turn the lights off. It's really not that hard. That's basically the best way to save money with lights. If you're not going to, if you don't need them, turn the lights off. All these cost the same when the lights are off. So I hope that helps. Hope that broke things down for you. Any questions? Let me know in the comments. And until then, have a good one. LED is a 0.048. So watch that. Alright, so now let's get into the dollars and cents of this. So we'll start off with our regular incandescent light bulb. You have a 60-watt light bulb draws 60 watts of power. If it's a halogen or a high intensity light bulb, it'll still draw 60 watts because it's a standard bulb. Now, if you get into the compact fluorescent, or a 60-watt equivalent light bulb, this one will only draw about 13 watts of power, and you get to the LED, instead of 13 watts or 60 watts, this little guy draws a whopping 8. So you've got quite a decrease in power consumption. Now, let's get into the dollars and cents of how this actually, or what kind of difference these actually make. Now, for electricity, hydro, that's what we call it in this neck of woods. Yeah, it's incorrect, but that's just the common term we use for it. Everything's measured in kilowatts, so a 60-watt light bulb is 0.06 kilowatts. So there you have your standard incandescent halogen high intensity. Then you go into the fluorescent, and instead of 0.06, you're looking at 0.013, and the LED, you're looking at 0.00. Sorry. Now, if you, just to come up with some arbitrary numbers, in the summer you know you're going to use the lights generally less because you got more daylight. The winter you use them more. Let's average 6 hours a day, every day of the year. So you're going to use, on your incandescent light bulb, 0.36 kilowatts per day. And then compact fluorescent, you're going to be looking at 0.078. LED, you're looking at 0.048. Up in here, specifically where I am, our cost per kilowatt hour that we're being charged, not including delivery fees, debt recovery, and all the other add-ons that they put on, just because they need that extra money coming in that they can't work into the cost itself, we're looking at $0.132 per kilowatt hour. So, cost per day based on 6 hours, you have 4.8 cents a day. Then you go to 0.01 or $0.01 or 1 cent a day, and then the LED, you're looking at 0.006 cents. Sorry, $0.00 $0.006 per day. Now, you expand that to the week, you've got